Okay, great. Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's 6:30. This is the Audit Committee meeting. This is Wednesday, August 14th, 2024. And like I said, it's 6:30. If we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So we're going to do a quick roll call here.
Don Alexander.
David Vogt.
I know we've got Bernie up on Zoom. I'm Julie Johnson, the chairperson, and also here
Bill
with us.
Zolper, town manager.
Then we have our auditor, Gary is also here on Zoom. And then we have our auditors that are tuning in by Zoom as well. So we'll get to them in a minute. Can we, the first item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda. Everyone have a chance to take a look at it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We also, the second item on the agenda is approving last year's meeting minutes. Thank you, Bernie, as always, for doing those. I really appreciate that, taking that off my plate. Do we have a motion to approve? Are there any issues with the minutes from last year?
No.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so now we're getting to the nitty gritty of why we are here. So, Kristen, do you want to take it away?
Hi, this is Dan Kenny.
Oh, there you are, Dan. I didn't see your name up there. Sorry.
It's okay. And hopefully with me this evening, I can't see either who else is here. Venkana Alkunta, our senior manager, and Christina Pastor, our senior associate.
Okay, great.
So what we'd like to do this evening is we're going to show you the draft financial statements, the management letter, and then we have a presentation for you as well. And what I'd like to do with respect to the draft financial statements is show you the draft financial statements that we sent to you last week on August 7th. And then as I'm going through it, I'll show you the pages that have changed. And then what we'll do is we'll actually pull up those specific pages and I'll highlight the numbers so you can see what's changed. And then we have a clean version as well. So I sent those two items, the clean version and the changed pages. I sent those at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, I got those.
Okay, great. So it might be a little cumbersome, but I think that way everyone can make sure they understand it, etc.
Okay.
So Venkana, if you can pull up the first draft that was sent on August 7th, that would be great.
Right. Y'all able to see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it. I don't know if you can make it bigger. Yeah, there you go. That's perfect. Thank you so much. All right, so we can go to the next page. We'll buzz through that. All right, so let's go to the independent auditor's report. Pages 1 to 4. Of course, this indicates we've audited the town as of and for the year ended March 31, 2024. And in our opinion, the financial statements are presented fairly. The basis for our opinions, our audit was conducted in accordance with two standards: generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards. And then under responsibilities of management, there's 2 paragraphs describes their responsibilities. And then under auditor's responsibility, it talks about the 5 bullets there as to what we do. And then it talks about the RSI information and the supplementary information as to what our responsibility is and what we do. And then because the audit was done in accordance with government auditing standards, we issue that internal control, which is in the last page of your document. All right, so let's go ahead and walk through the MD&A. The MD&A starts on page, can't see the bottom of the page. It is, sorry, page 5, and it goes through a couple of pages. So starts, just talks about the government-wide statement. Keep just scrolling through it, then kind of thank you. Talks about the fund statements, the governmental fund, the notes, goes through the financial analysis. Okay, government-wide financial analysis. And then, then stop right here. So is this page 8 then, Kana? Sorry, I can't see the
Page
bottom.
7.
Oh, page 7, okay. All right, so page 8, on the top of page 8. So this is just, your revenue items. And you'll see that this net unrealized loss, where it says 956, 627, and then bracket 481, 971. So we added the word gain, and then we put a bracket around the loss. Once again, we'll show you that page after we conclude this. Scrolling down. Okay, so stop right here. So under the second paragraph, where it talks about the governmental fund, and then it describes the fund balance number. So that fund balance number on the draft on August 7th said approximately 1.8 million. That number is changed to 796,955. And if you scroll down, I can explain the why. Go to the next page. Okay, scroll down. Okay, yep, right there. Yeah, so under the last sentence where it says for fiscal year 25, the town has budgeted total general fund operating revenues, the blank and blank. Those two numbers were picked up erroneously. Those aren't the budgeted numbers. So the budgeted numbers are now in there. You'll see that, after we go through this presentation. And so that fund balance number changed because and we'll get to it. I don't want to jump around, but let me just explain it first. So in your note 11, there's one of your last sentences indicates the second aspect of your fund balance policy. You're to take your unassigned number, is at about 15% of, the budgeted number. So what we did was we took 15% of the number, and it's the two numbers that are going to change. It says 6931500 and 6866063. It's going to change to 5335134 and 5313036. So the fund balance number is 15% of the 5313036, which is your budgeted expenditures for next year. Okay, so that's, and I'll show you those pages in a second. All right, let's go to page 14. And then 14, if you go to 14, you'll see that the numbers under general fund, the 2197591 and 1770172, those combined numbers in total aren't changing, but the allocation between both are. So because the unassigned fund balance number changes as a result of your quote unquote secondary policy with, balance policy, that number changes from 1770, 172 to that 796 number. And the excess of your unassigned goes to your capital improvements town hall, because that's what you guys want to do. You want to assign, any excess to that. And of course you want to be in compliance with your own policy of the 15%. Okay, so that explains that. Let me go to page 16. This is very minor. Up top it says net unrealized loss gain. The gain is going to go in front of the loss because the 150 is a gain. And yeah, and actually the loss is going to go away because on this particular line, you don't have any. So that the loss with the bracket, that goes away. And the reason those things happen is because there's a carry forward schedule in the back that has a comparative of all the years. So it just kind of rolled it forward. So anyway, it's minor correction. Once again, I'll show you, later with all those changes, and then we'll also show you the clean draft. Okay. All right. Page 37. Yeah, go to page 37. So this is, and point out, and I'm sorry, yeah, stay right there, then, kind of. Thank you so much. So this is where I was talking about under fund balances, the last sentence where it says, in addition, the second component of the fund balance policy is to maintain unassigned fund balance equal to 15% of, of nearly 2 months of general operating. So first thing we're doing is we're changing the of to an or, okay? So it's or, and the number, so that explains, what I said earlier, right? And then under capital improvements town hall, once again, that number, it's not 2197 because of that 15%. So that number changes too. And we'll show you that. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's go to 42. All right, so 42. Okay, so 42. So because this is all the comparative years, right? See the assigned for capital improvements, town hall, the unassigned. Once again, those two numbers are changed to the total fund balance number. Just to point out, the 7.342. That number doesn't change it at all. It's just the allocation between unassigned and town hall. Right, so that explains that. And if you go to the next page, 45. And if you go to 45, so under investment income bracket loss, we're going to put the word loss in front of income because you're 254, you read left to right, and that's first. So it's the loss first, and then in 22 you had income. And then on the next line, same thing, net unrealized loss. The loss is a bracket. The first thing is a gain. So the words are just going to flip from gain to loss to read left to right. Okay, now one thing I want to point out to you, and kind of go back to the budget to actual statement. And we'll talk about this in the management letter, but I wanted to point out that you guys adopted the recommendation we had last year, where you were, you had your original budget, and then we said, hey, it's something you ought to look at, analyze, throughout the year, and you guys went ahead and did that. You can see your original budget numbers change from.
Sorry, Dan, what page is that?
That is that's page 38.
38.
Yeah,
Thank
so.
you.
Right, so on 38, if you recall, in previous years, your original budget and your final budget were the same numbers. And so last year we recommended, you really ought to, change you're allowed to amend your budget for things that happen during the year, because budgets are all, it's a projection, it's based on X amount. Things happen during the year, you ought to change it appropriately so that folks know that, hey, we made some decisions to spend monies differently based on revenues or vice versa. So anyway, you did that, and I'll go over that in a second. Okay, now, what I did there was just kind of went through some of the changes. I don't know, you guys have had a while to go through the statement itself and look at it. So I'll be happy to answer any questions within the statement. I think we want to spend the time going through some of the other items. I don't think you really want me to walk you through a statement, as you're pretty familiar with it anyway. So I wanted to just go over the changes first, but I'll be more than happy to go through any part of the statement that you would like.
No, I think we can move forward, Dan.
Okay.
Thank you,
great.
though.
Sure. All right, so let's pull up the changed pages, Montana. Thank you so much. Okay, so this is page 8, where we talked about just the the words, we flip the words around, loss with the bracket, gain first. All right, next item. So that number, once again, changed to 796. It was 17. All right, and then this, page 10, as we indicated, the numbers were 6 and 6, and now they're 5, 5, 3, 5, 3, and that's based on, of course, your budgeted numbers. That had the effect of changing your unassigned. And then, of course, once again, the total doesn't change. 7.3 doesn't change, just the allocation between town hall and unassigned. It says net unrealized gain, there's no loss. The assignment, because the town hall, obviously that changed, then the total changed to 3.5. So that's the change there. Oh, then there's your little or, sorry. Words are important, so.
Yeah.
Or. And then here's your, comparative. And once again, same concept, 7.3 didn't change, just the allocation between both. Brackets, putting things in front, reading left to right. And
That's all.
yeah, I think that's it. Okay. Okay, great. All right. So moving on. Do you guys want me to show you the clean version so you can see it? Julie, we sent it, so
Yeah, you sent it. I'm okay with,
you're okay. Okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, the changes are better just
Okay.
because I don't think, since it was late this afternoon, I didn't flip it to these guys, so seeing those changes was more helpful, but I don't think we need to see the clean copy.
Yeah, exactly right. So now you have the clean copy, and then you got the pages that changed that are
Right.
highlighted, and I explained it. So
Yep,
I think
we're
we're good.
good.
Okay. All right. So let's pull up the management letter. Okay. So the management letter, what I'd like to do is start with the bottom of the letter. I want to talk about the prior year comments and the status, and then we'll go back to the top. The prior year comments, we had comments on policies and procedures, IT, budget controls, fund balance. And then we also had the trial balance comment, which it's still kind of current. We added things to it. I'll get to that. But anyway, so your policies and procedures, that comment is still out there. It's in process. Usually at this point, let me just go through it, and then I'll let management comment about as to where they are with respect to the comment relating to the ERP system and how that, where they are exactly in the process there. Okay, the budget controls, we talked about that. That was resolved. So that's completely done. And then the fund balance, no, I'm sorry, IT, I missed that. So the IT comment, they're in the process. Last year it says they're in the process of developing the handbook and also looking at as to several IT changes. I think they're working on. I think the actual, and Bill, you can correct me, but I think the handbook is in process, and it's always, this is a comment, and this is an area where you always have to look at IT all the time, right? Cyber risks, all that kind of stuff is something that every entity, no matter the size, has always got to look at it. And they are looking at software upgrades right now, and they're looking at security needs and all that type of stuff. So anyway, that's in process there. And then under fund balance, once again, that's a comment where you guys have adopted the policy, which is great. You're implementing it, and it's something that management is looking at, and they might want to consider adding a few things. And at some point, I think they might present something to you, to the commissioners. But that's sort of out there. Okay, now let's go to the current year comments. So So I'll just go ahead and, I'm not going to read it all, but I'll just try to paraphrase it. So, we asked for all three trial balances. We got two out of the three. Definitely an improvement from the prior year. And however, in getting, the trial balance, the one trial balance from management and then the one from the external accountant who assists you guys, the trial balances were different. Okay. There were entries that weren't posted, between the two systems. And, our recommendation there is, it's imperative that the outside accountant has access to the town's accounting system on a regular, or a regular or a timely basis. Make sure the reconciliations are done between the two. And we continue to have the recommendation where we want to get all three trial balances, and it's necessary. So I'm gonna go to the next comment. And it kind of, this sort of dovetails and explains the reason why. So in addition to, the one trial balance, we noticed that you guys, what you do in your monthly meetings, you have one trial balance that's presented. And it's our recommendation that you prepare a general fund modified accrual and the government-wide full accrual information in order to be consistent with how it's presented in the audit. We don't believe you need to report on the beach replenishment fund because it's so small now. If you have a lot of activity, of course, you can do that. But because there's a difference, as explained above, in the measurement focus and how things are accounted for, it's important to have the general fund presented the way you're, in accordance with GAAP, and then the government-wide in accordance with GAAP. Because, as you know, there are differences, and the differences relate to the capital assets. So in the general fund, your capital assets are reported as an expenditure, and then in the government-wide, it's capitalized. So, one item that came up was within the within the trial balance, there was expenses related to the town hall of approximately 200,000, and the $200,000 was not capitalized. It was recorded as an expenditure, and so that amount should have been capitalized because it's going to be for the use of the town hall. And so what we want to, our recommendation is, if you're going to present a balance sheet on a monthly basis, we believe you should present it in accordance with how your statements are prepared, right? In accordance with the modified accrual on the general fund, and then, full accrual on government-wide. Now, we want to be careful in saying that, you don't, not a lot of entities present their balance sheets, okay? Because it takes a lot of time to do that. At year end, we're definitely recommending you got to get us all three. You got to do it. That stands. On a monthly basis, if you so choose to present a balance sheet, we believe if you're going to do it, you should do it the way you should, it's properly presented, okay? We might be able to assist, work with your group to come up with something that doesn't maybe take as long, because it takes a long time to do the conversion entries and convert it from general fund to government wide. It takes a fair amount of time to do that on a monthly basis. It's a lot of effort, but if you're going to present it, you got to do it right. So our recommendation is, you might want to consider additional resources, one at year end, to make sure it's done right. That's important for the audit. But if you're going to do it monthly, or who knows how often you want to do it, you're going to need additional resources because it takes a lot of effort to do it. Okay. So that's the recommendation there. Okay. And then fixed assets, we talked about that. There were several items that didn't reconcile necessarily. And then one, that $200,000 item in the construction in progress where it was, recorded as an expenditure. It was recorded as an expenditure, and in the government wide, it should have been capitalized, and it wasn't capitalized. So, all right, so that's the comment there, and then so that's it with respect to that. All right, let me go through. I'll go quickly through the presentation part, and then I can circle back with any questions on the management letter and then the presentation. All right, so let's put that up. Okay, so keep rolling through that. You can go past the scope. It just indicates we did the audit in March 31. Key open items last week, some of those items were on there, all that stuff. We're ready to go once you guys approve the changes. We've got, the rep letters ready. We got subsequent events. Everything is teed up. It's just, we just need your approval. And we could finalize it tomorrow if you want it final tomorrow. Okay, so here's where on the recorded and unrecorded misstatements, we make those conversion entries. That's where it's noted. And then, of course, we're letting you know that on that construction in progress item, that amount of 203,000. And then the non-attest, of course, we're preparing the financial statements, as you all know. Okay, and then these areas here just talk about the different balance sheet items and some of the P&L items, and if we had any exceptions. So let me just go to the one where we have an exception. Once again, it's sort of consistent with the management letter. If you go to the next page, right, under capital assets. So, once again, it was talking about that CIP and the reconciliation of the fixed assets and so we're pointing that out there. Okay, next page. No issues with any of the other items. And then, no issues. Oh, okay. Yeah, so right here on the close process, right? So once again, it ties into that trial balance comment. The close process takes a little while because if you're not doing your monthly statement the way you should be doing it in accordance with GAAP, et cetera, then the close process takes longer. And so we feel like if you can, at least at year end do it, then your close process, it'll be done and it'll be cleared up. And once again, we will give you our thoughts and recommendations on how you could, present your statements on a monthly basis. We can work with management. We can't do it. We're not allowed to do it. But we can assist with giving you recommendations on, hey, you might want to do it this way or that way. We can certainly help there. All right. Okay. So here's the required communications. It talks about plan, scope, and timing. We've complied with all ethical requirements. Talks about your significant accounting practices. Next page. It talks about the estimates. There was no identifier. We did not identify any actual or suspected instances of fraud. And no significant difficulties encountered. Uncorrected and corrected misstatements, we already talked about that. There were no unusual transactions. There were no disagreements with management. We got the rep letter. There was no consultations with other accountants, and there were no other significant matters, findings, or issues to discuss. There were no instances of non-compliance with laws or regs, and the other information in the documents it's talked about in the independent auditor's report. And then there was no doubt about the entity's ability to continue as a going concern. Okay, and these are just some of the GASBs, some of the recent GASBs. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. And of course, before I do that, I want to thank Mr. Zolper, Ms. Hall, and Ms. Hauk for all their time and effort in going through this. We go through these presentations relatively fast, but it takes a while to get this done. And they were very cooperative and very helpful. So I want to thank them for their assistance.
Any questions?
No.
Bernie, any questions?
You're muted.
You muted again. You turned it off and then turned it right back on. The mute.
Did. Right, 2 times, but here
There
we
you
go.
go.
Well, last year I had the same problems.
There you go.
Anyway, in the report I was reading, you talked about the investment committee. They changed the investment committee to and combined it with the budget committee in July. Does that impact anything?
No, I mean,
Okay,
that's
that was
fine.
my only question.
Okay.
Gary, I know you're heavily involved. Do you have any questions?
Just quickly, it sounds a little odd. It sounds like the town was supposed to provide 3 trial balances, and you only got 2. And the reason you only got 2 is because the town and the outside auditor were unable to do the necessary reconciliation to provide was it the government-wide trial balance that you weren't able to get? I'm just a little confused
Yeah,
about that.
so we got it's hard to explain. But it's a great question. So we got 2 out of the 3, and so the one trial balance that we got, once again, there were differences between, each trial balance that we got. So we were able to get, I would say, we're going to say the general fund trial balance, but the government wide, because of the reconciling items and the conversion entries, like they weren't able to do that completely. Okay. And it is an undertaking to do, right? It requires, an effort to do it and to get it set up. And so, we put the comment in there last year, because we wanted to make sure you started thinking about it. And once again, they gave us 2 out of the 3, but it wasn't the final piece where everything was completely done and the fixed assets reconciled. So it all kind of relates to that fixed asset. And once again, Gary, it takes a pretty significant amount of time to do it. So that's why our recommendation is you need to allocate more resources so that they can do it, right? That's really the recommendation. And it sort of ties back, Gary, to the monthly statement, right? Where, if you're going to ask for the balance sheet, if you're going to ask for a balance sheet, well, you should get both. You should get the government wide, because the government wide has your capital assets, right? Has your capital assets, and then everything would be reconciled. And then it would have the general fund so that you guys could look at your fund balance policy and adjust your unassigned numbers as you're going along, on a monthly basis. And you could allocate, okay, we're going to allocate more to the town hall. You're going to hit your 15% number. You can do that, every month, every quarter, however you want to do it. But once again, just a caution, it does take a lot of time to do it. And so, if you guys want, I could probably think of some type of thing to make sure that, 1, you're in compliance with your fund balance policy, but 2, it doesn't take all the resources and additional resources to do this on a monthly basis. So I'm sensitive to making a recommendation to utilize funds for accounting things, right? And yet, but if you're doing it, I have an obligation to tell you that, hey, this isn't exactly the way you should be doing it.
Yeah.
And then and just to further the point, is really important for us at year end to get it, because then it just makes it easier and faster, and it's just quicker. And then if I'm getting it clean from you, then you wouldn't have any entries, right? You wouldn't have a $200,000 CIP item that came up. Everything would, and then you would have your fund balance. You'd be able to monitor that too. So I'm sorry for the long-winded answer, but
No, that's fine, but just from a single commissioner's perspective, I think we're going to be interested in any suggestions or guidance you can provide us in
Okay.
making this a workable system. You know, I need to frame this more for discussion among the rest of the commissioners, but I think collectively, you know, we're going to want to see continued monthly reports, but do that in a way that makes it easier to complete the process at the end of the year. That's my feeling, at least.
it's fair.
Danny, why don't we talk to Bill and see what comments you have or questions or where kind of
Yeah,
where we
thanks,
are
Chair.
and some of the
So
things.
I think based on Dan's report and in the years that I've been here as town manager, Dan has been involved in our audit one way or another. I think Sheena has come a long ways in the 4 years that I've been here. I think the town's done a good, you know, we've improved every year that I've been here, and it's not a sprint, it's been a marathon. IT was a big improvement for us, and as you see, he had it originally when we talked to Dan, it was in as resolved. And I said, I think we ought to hold off on that because IT is always changing and somebody's always building a better way to get into your system. Kate's done a good job working with the state. Looks like we're going to get some IT grants to go after some better software. So I think every year we're going to be changing the IT, even though it says resolved. The fund balance, it will be in progress. I think that's something that Commissioner Persinger knows we need to do a little more work on. The mayor had asked at one of our meetings, when do we know we should be spending the rainy day fund? And when do we know we should be spending the 15% fund? When we don't really have any rules when those would be kicking in. So I think on the fund balances, it's still in progress. Budget controls were resolved. Last year was the first time we did a recommendation from the audit to amend the budget in the middle of the year, right, Sheena? We did it in December or January. And we had not done that in the 4 years that I've been here. And that was good because it showed that in certain areas, maybe with the police budget, we overspent a little bit, but we came in more with transfer tax. So we were able to level the bubbles there and make the amendment in the budget. I think the monthly balance sheets that the commissioners want us to do, it's a lot of work for Sheena, and you've heard from the audit that it is a lot of work. And I think we're going to probably have to look at spending some money to bring in somebody else to help us more often than what we're doing right now with Allison. And then also Dan's team is looking at maybe some templates that might help us. And as he said, he can't do it, but he can show us the templates, and I think that'll help us also. In the last piece, with the $203,000 being shown as an expenditure, and it should have been shown as capitalized, and I think Sheena was talking about it a little bit at some point. This is the first time we've done a really big project like this in the city of Dewey Beach. I mean, in the town of Dewey Beach. And this will be a project in the millions of dollars for this new town hall, police station, and paramedic station. And this is kind of new for us. So we're learning as we go. So I think the 203 that was shown as an expenditure instead of a capital, we know now, and in the future, we will be showing it as capital instead of an expenditure. So Dan, any other comments?
Yeah, so actually you'll show it both, right? You'll show it as an expenditure in the general fund because any capital item in the general fund is an expenditure, but then on the government-wide, you'll show it as a capital asset. And I know that that's what you meant. I'm an accountant. So I gotta make sure I correct that because that's the whole thing. It's the two different statements, right? And the two measurement focuses, and that's where it's, there's a little complexity to it.
Definitely. Sheena, do you have anything you want to add? Huh?
Don't ask me these things.
Well, I'm just asking if you want to add anything.
Mr. Kinney had mentioned the ERP system. Kate and I had did research, Kate did a lot of research, and we're going to be presenting to the commissioners probably in October when we start the budget process, a proposal to expand our current system to add the financial aspect. So we're not split between QuickBooks and Edmonds. This will make it easier because we're not going to be doing double entries. There will be only a couple people that have to learn the new system instead of everybody learning a new system. So we went for what was best for the majority of people. And we're hoping to be able to kick everything off before season
Right.
again. So we're very close on that. That will also help with the whole process. Our fixed assets in the past were a ginormous spreadsheet that they were not being tracked properly. This year, we got, with the help of Alice, Miss Andrew, our outside accountant, we got everything classified the way they should. They had on the spreadsheet, police vehicles were listed as a building improvement. No, and so we fixed all that. We've also got the process started to get all of our fixed assets into a software. That spreadsheet's gone. The outside accountant firm will keep track of all of our fixed assets, give me the depreciation entry, give me all the entries to change it from our fixed assets from an expense to capitalization. So that's already in the process. The comment was made about our policies being ongoing. When I started here 7 years ago, there were no policies. None. I have had the help of a former auditor for the state of Maryland, that she helped me put together some policies, helped teach me what I needed to do. We're now taking each of them and having a procedures book and a policy book and get everything where everyone knows exactly how, what is involved in everything. Our credit card statements, our credit card processing, everything is going to be updated this year, so that when we present the stuff to the auditors this next year, they're going to have a whole bunch of new stuff to read, including our onboarding process for our seasonals and our year-round employees. That has been every year changing.
Right.
So we're even looking into a new timekeeping system to make payroll processing easier. So everything has been coming to a head at the same time, and the auditors have been fantastic in working with me through this whole capital expenditures thing. And as Mr. Zolper said, didn't have a big project like this before, and it just slipped my mind about capitalizing all those expenses.
Right.
I painfully wrote the check and put it aside. But I think we're doing a great job, and Miss Andrew, when she gets back in September, we've already set up a date where we're going to get everything moving as far as the monthly, the quarterly, and the audit process.
Great.
So hopefully next year, the auditors will just say, they're fantastic. Here you go. You guys will go, hey, here you go, commissioners.
There you go.
Okay?
Well, I've done this, 5 years now, I think? And we keep making progress every year, which is something good to see. So
There's always room for improvement.
there always is. There always is. So, anyway, does that spark any other comments, Dan?
No, I'm fine. Once again, thank everyone for all their assistance. The other thing, I do want to mention that I've also talked to management. I have a lot of different contacts, different director of finance people in the state of Maryland, and I've given management their names so they can call them and, talk to them about any issues, any things they're thinking about. And that's sort of a best practice kind of thing. It's, collaborative on their part. So, I think that was, fairly helpful to them, and it can be in the future if they have things that are going on. And I have different size entities too. So I'll be more than happy to provide the names again and have people help you guys.
Great, thanks, Dan.
Yep.
Gary or Bernie, do the comments by the town manager, or Sheena, spark any other questions or comments from you all?
No, no more comments, just to say, like you, I've been here 5 years, and it's a great improvement.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. Commissioner, person
Nothing from me.
Okay. Okay, well then we're gonna move on to the next, is to discuss and possibly vote to recommend the acceptance of the draft, realizing that the draft is, with the changes that I was sent this afternoon and the town was sent this afternoon, that were highlighted, so it'll be the clean copy with those changes, to be heard. So, Bernie, I'm gonna start with you since you're on Zoom. Do you have any comments or any discussion about whether or not to approve?
No, I think we should approve it, but that looks good to me.
No,
Fine with me.
okay, then we're just gonna go right to a vote. Can somebody make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so any final comments from the committee? Great job, everyone. I'm really, like I said, this is 5 years and it's really impressive to see how far we've come in the past 5 years, getting things improved upon, so. So on that note, we're gonna approve as it is. We don't even have to make any changes this year, Dan.
All right, so tomorrow we'll go ahead and issue it final. Is there another presentation that you want us to attend?
No, I will just present to the commissioners at their meeting to basically tell them that our recommendation is to approve the audit.
All right, just
I
let us
appreciate
know
it.
if you need us, we'll.
So, Chair,
Oh.
if I could say, Dan, we would like you or somebody from your team to be available by Zoom on the 16th at 3 p.m.
Oh, I did not know that, sorry.
Okay, that's all right, we'll have all three of us there.
Okay, thank
You
you.
have my backup.
Thanks, Joe.
That's the actual commissioners meeting.
Yeah.
In the past, I didn't know that they've attended, I guess if they had any questions. Okay,
Okay, we'll be on Zoom.
okay,
All right.
thank you.
All
We
right.
appreciate it, Dan.
Thanks, Sam.
So,
Thanks, everyone.
motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everyone.